Coach Cassandra and Coach Darrington here, and we are talking about the importance of creating tension throughout the entire system in order to create a stronger wedge through the deadlift. That's a common cue that we use. We tell clients, make sure that you're able to wedge your hips to initiate the concentric portion of the deadlift. But if your tensioning sequence is off from whether that be through your lats or through your legs, that hip wedge may not be able to be as strong as you're intending it to be. So first, Darrington is going to just do a deadlift where he's not going to be thinking about getting upper back tensioning at all, but he's still going to try to wedge his hips because the goal of the deadlift is, after all, to stand up with weight in your hands. Okay, back down. Oftentimes when we see people lacking tension through their upper back, that's when the weight is going to start pulling them forward and their hips end up rising before they actually lock out, and we start cueing, wedge your hips, wedge your hips. However, we find that they can't get that stronger hip wedge because we're not addressing the tensioning throughout the entire system. And so we actually are going to use a band to represent why it's important to have tensioning throughout the entire body. Now, if I hold a band right here and I'm not necessarily creating a lot of tension, but I want to create essentially the middle or the hip to wedge forward, you can see how without tension in the band, that wedging of the hips or the snapping of the band isn't very strong compared to me creating tension throughout the entire system. And now imagining that this middle portion of the band are your hips, the snap is going to be more powerful. Right? So imagining that now to an actual deadlift, I want to make sure that Darrington is creating tension through his mid-back, through his lats, all the way down to rooting in his feet. And when this happens, he naturally is able to bring his hips faster towards the bar. By pushing through his feet and creating tension, holding onto the bar, he's going to be able to generate more power through his legs instead of having that slack in his upper back, and then now he's probably going to have to overcome that weight pulling him forward. Anything to add, Darren?
Yeah, so I think a lot of times when people talk about not being able to wedge properly, they don't necessarily know what they need to do in order to get better wedging, because wedging is a result of multiple things happening. So we're using this band to kind of show you that you need tension, a lot of tension here, which would just be your scapula, and here, which would just be your feet. So if you have a lot of tension in both of these points, your hips will come through strong and forceful, and your wedge will be very strong. But if you're lacking tension, that's when you're going to have a subpar wedge, and it's going to show up in your rest of your lift.